Nathan Reynolds had always considered himself an ordinary man, living an ordinary life in a quiet suburban neighborhood. He worked as a financial analyst in downtown Chicago, had a small but close-knit group of friends, and spent his weekends unwinding with his golden retriever, Max. His life followed a predictable routine, one that he found comforting. But everything changed on a fateful Friday evening when the unthinkable happened. The day had started off like any other. Nathan woke up at 6, took Max for a brisk morning walk, and brewed himself a cup of coffee before heading off to work. The office was buzzing with the usual pre-weekend energy, and his coworkers discussed their weekend plans as they went about their tasks. Nathan, not much of a social butterfly, planned a quiet weekend with Max and a couple of new books he had been eager to read. But fate had other plans. As he left the office that evening, the air was crisp, a reminder that autumn was settling in. He pulled his coat tighter around him and headed toward the parking garage. His car, a dark blue sedan, was parked on the third level. As he approached, he noticed something odd, a piece of paper tucked beneath his windshield wiper. His heart sank slightly as he plucked it free, expecting to see a parking violation. Instead, the note contained only 3 words, hastily scribbled in black ink. "You are next." A shiver ran down his spine. He glanced around the garage, suddenly hyper-aware of his surroundings. The dim lighting cast long shadows, and the usual hum of the city felt eerily distant. He took a deep breath, telling himself it was probably a prank, some kids messing around. Still, unease settled in his stomach as he got into his car and locked the doors. He pulled out of the garage, eyes darting to the rearview mirror every few seconds, half expecting to see someone following him. But the streets were filled with the usual evening traffic, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. By the time he reached his house, he had convinced himself that the note was meaningless. Perhaps it had been left on the wrong car. Maybe it was a joke. He shook his head and let out a soft chuckle, chiding himself for getting worked up over something so trivial. Max greeted him at the door, tail wagging, oblivious to his owner's troubled thoughts. Nathan gave the dog an affectionate scratch behind the ears before settling in for the night. But sleep did not come easily. His mind kept replaying the note over and over. Who would leave such a message? Was it meant for him? What did "you're next" even mean? The words gnawed at the edges of his consciousness, making it impossible to find rest. Eventually, exhaustion won over, and he drifted into a restless sleep, plagued by indistinct dreams that left him with a sense of dread he couldn't quite shake. The next morning, he awoke to the sound of his phone buzzing. Groggy, he reached for it, squinting at the screen. It was his best friend, Mark. "Hey man, you okay?" Mark's voice was filled with concern. "Yeah," Nathan replied, sitting up. "Why wouldn't I be? I just saw the news. Some guy got attacked last night, in your parking garage. They found him unconscious near the elevators. No sign of a struggle, but get this, he had a note in his pocket with the same words you got. You're next." Nathan's blood ran cold. His fingers tightened around the phone. "Mark, this isn't funny." "I'm not joking," Mark said. "Check the news." Nathan fumbled for the remote and turned on the TV. The local news station was running a story about the incident. A man, early 30s, found unconscious in the very parking garage Nathan had left the night before. No clues, no witnesses, just the ominous note. His heart pounded. Was it just a coincidence? Or was there something more sinister at play? Max whined softly, sensing his owner's tension. Nathan rubbed the dog's head, trying to gather his thoughts. He had to figure out what was going on. He couldn't just ignore this. He decided to go back to the garage, see if there was anything the news hadn't reported. When he arrived, the police were still on the scene, yellow tape blocking off the elevator area. An officer was speaking with a woman who looked visibly shaken. Nathan hesitated but finally approached another officer, clearing his throat. "Excuse me. I park here. I heard about what happened. Do you know anything?" The officer studied him for a moment before nodding. "Not much we can say right now. The victim is stable but unconscious. No ID on him and no sign of robbery or a struggle. Just a note. Pretty unsettling, huh?" Nathan swallowed hard.
Yeah.
Really unsettling. He debated telling the officer about the note he had received, but decided against it. He wasn't sure why, but something told him to hold back. He needed to piece this together first. That evening, as he sat in his living room with Max curled up beside him, his phone buzzed again. This time, it was an unknown number. Hesitant, he answered. "Hello." A deep voice, distorted as if altered by a machine, spoke. "You should have taken the notes seriously, Nathan. Now it's too late." The call disconnected. His breath caught in his throat. Every hair on his body stood on end. The unthinkable had happened, and now he was right in the middle of it.